So when I started building Tipterra, like a month with, more seriousness behind it, I didn't expect that I was able to scale, in my opinion, pretty fast. So we have hit 100 users and I just released the newsletter to it, what it actually feels like for 100 users to be on your platform and essentially creating a backlog of new feedback, which is always appreciated, but I'm kind of slow. And here's maybe a few things that I do want to talk about because maybe it doesn't get through the newsletter, right? Maybe it's a bit more easier to talk about them in person and specifically to a camera. So how was I able to, scale to 100 users in a week with a very specific problem that I'm trying to solve, right? So if you found this video and if you're new, my ICP, that is ideal customer profile, is someone who is self-taught in biology and wants to build their own biological projects, right? And the issue with the current AI models that I have is that they give you the answer pretty fast. So you are not extending your thinking, you are handing your thinking skills over to a large language model. And a lot of people, obviously, they have a growing distrust against these models, which I understand. And the current space is not utilized to strengthen human skills because that is what AI should be doing. It should be making the process of learning for you much faster and seeing results much faster. But it shouldn't be taking, for instance, away the difficulty of learning. That is something that you need to do because otherwise your brain is not learning. The difficulties you encounter in every project is only the time when you are learning. Like, I think that is even scientifically proven, but for the sake of the discussion, we will also assume that is true. And so this is why I'm building Tipterra. And I started the newsletter a week ago. So the first video came out last week, which also explains the whole story behind it. So let's get back to the newsletter. So a lot of people have been replying, and I will say this, my reply rate per 100 sent emails is 5%, which is, I think, pretty good, actually. Also recognizing the fact that I'm not using Apollo or any CRM systems because I'm not willing to spend money on them. Like, I'm not doing that. And here's what people had to say after using Tipterra, right? And so I think with the positive part, people were very responsive. I didn't expect that. And they're also very nice, right? So I never really encountered an email where I was like, well, that's kind of mean to say. Never had that. I'm very grateful for that, which is, again, amazing. Other things that people pointed out very positively is the fact that I am building this. So a lot of people feel like it's useful, which I assume is true, right? Like, even I'm using it, not day by day, but when I have the time. And I think this is also time constraint a lot of my ICPs face, and including me, is that we don't necessarily have daily times to commit to a project. And this is also something that I want to work on, which hasn't been mentioned, but I want to make it a daily habit. Something like Duolingo, but for biotech. What else? So a lot of people like the design, but I will also mention it directly. A lot of people were a bit overwhelmed with the design, which I understand because there is no onboarding, right? Like, the pressure to figure out what you need to do is a bit too high because there's so much input and not a lot of guidance on how to use it. I think I will also need to do a video on that. What else was failing? Because now we're getting into the failures. So sign in was failing for some people, which, to be fair, I didn't quite understand because I tried to use it with a few accounts that I had at this time and they all worked well. Like, even for signing up, it wasn't bad. Now, what I will agree with is Leo, the research octopus that you see as my profile picture for the YouTube channel, which I didn't redesign in the software, is glitching mid-convo, which did happen to me as well. But I kind of forgot that I experienced this bug, so I didn't go into it. And this is why I fixed it by making sure the stream is not interrupted. I'm not getting into the technical details because I don't think that's too interesting. The dashboard was overwhelming. Yes, that is something that I mentioned. Our UX is not in a very good condition at this point. I mean, you can check it out for yourself. It's not like it's working, it's functional, but it's not easy to use. And so breaking down the components to a very simplistic design is something that I still want to do. Grounding and increasing the speed in which you can work. Now, the retrieval, for instance, of scientific papers is something that is still hard for me to encode in because the rack system I have, which was also built by someone outside of me, which, very nice of him to do, it still is facing a few issues, which I'm currently testing out. Like, I'm stress testing the whole thing out. I still can't find the mistake. Like, It's weird. Maybe I need to think about how to stress test it, but if you are technical, feel free to comment down below how, I could go about it. And what I'm also building is, now a lot of people wanted to use Typtera in a different environment. So they like the approach, they like that it's very constrained for you to use your brain. And an MCP server is something that I'm currently trying to build. Like, I'm thinking about how I want to build it and a few coding integrations. Now, here's what I want to mention. I said that I personally don't like to use Claude for biological projects. The reason for that is, obviously you can create projects in Claude and you can work towards them. But here's my big objection. It's that Claude is inclined to give you more that reduces your thinking. And we have seen researchers showing us that people who use AI to write and not, for instance, use AI as an enhancement for the writing, they suffer from cognitive debt. It's like technical debt, like you code a lot, you're not fixing things, and at one point you will see all the mistakes. That is something that happens with our brains as well. And so the issue that I was also trying to solve is the cognitive debt that you get when you use Claude, specifically if you don't exactly know what you're doing. And this is why I wanted Typtera as a step-by-step guide. Like, it's choosing the best action for you to take in order to achieve your goal X in the fastest way. And this is something that you need to explicitly prompt Claude, by the way. Like, it needs to be in the Claude skills so that it works. But then again, a lot of people are having a growing distrust in these AI tools because they are being dehumanized as a user, right? This is something that is happening, and I want human autonomy still at the very top of research. It just needs to be faster. That's the whole thing. Like, you need to erase bottlenecks, and if the bottleneck is missing knowledge because you don't know what papers to read, that is very fixable, pretty fast as well. And this is why an MCP, for instance, is not necessarily a bad idea to do. Because if people prefer to use Claude, but with the Typtera setting, it might be better to do so. Because maybe you have it on a Mac, right? Like, maybe you have the desktop version. There's currently no desktop version. People might be icked using the browser version. I completely understand that. But MacBook version currently is a bit too much. So yeah, that's it. Otherwise, what I'm trying to build myself is still the case study, which is revolving around building a database for stem cells for prediction models. Like, if you turn a stem cell into this type of cell with these transcription factors and with that virus as a vector, does it work? Like, to what percentage will it be successful or not? So this is something I'm going to work on. This might be the next video. And I'm thinking whether I want to do a tutorial, like step-by-step walkthrough on how to do it, or whether I will just show the end result. Like, I'm still thinking about it because I don't want the video to be very long. And that's it for this week. Probably see you next week with the new updates. And that's it. Bye.